Let's all talk about the fact that groceries right now are extortion. Like every time we go, they just keep rising and rising and rising and rising for no reason. Here are all the little and big ways that I've saved so much money, starting before I even get to the store, tips on how to save while shopping, and ways to prevent food waste. So just to give you some context, we on average spend about $800 to $900 a month for our small family of 4 living in Vancouver, BC. The groceries here are incredibly expensive, like more than they should be, but I can guarantee you that the amount of money that we spend on food is below average for here. So here are some of my tips. First is the section before the store. This is what you should be doing before you go grocery shopping, because if you think that going grocery shopping is just getting into your car and driving to the grocery store, you're wrong. One of my personal tips is that we like to go shopping about every 2 weeks, because we buy enough stuff for those 2 weeks, and then we avoid the micro shopping in between, because that is where you impulse buy. And you know, if you go once every 2 weeks, it's like almost okay to impulse buy a couple things. But if you're going to the grocery store every day, every other day, and you're impulse buying every single time, what feels like a small little $20 trip, like it adds up so quickly to be such a massive number by the end of the month. And before you argue with me, I know that this is more exclusive to living in North America. I know, like, for example, if you live in Europe, people shop pretty much every day, every other day, because they go and buy what they need for that day. But here it's just built differently. We have car culture, we have these massive fridges, it's just different. Next is to empty your fridge. You should be opening your fridge and saying, man, there's nothing to eat in here, and then going another 2-3 days after that. You should be having to get creative with what you have in your kitchen still, and using up what you already have in your pantry, what you have in your freezer, before going to the grocery store to get another massive haul of food. We just so naturally overbuy food here, it's kind of insane. And this is one of the biggest causes of food waste. We are running low-ish, and then we think, oh man, we need to go and get a fresh giant haul of groceries, and then we get in all the new stuff and just push all the old stuff in the back. But chances are, at the point that you're saying, oh man, I need to go grocery shopping, you can probably eat the food that you have in your kitchen for another 2 weeks. Okay, next tip that I cannot emphasize enough is to organize your fridge. This is one of the biggest tips I can say. A lot of us just have these massively unorganized fridges that are just overwhelming to our brains. We don't know what we have in there, which leads to a lot of food spoilage. And I'm not saying go out and get canisters and like special fridge-scaping organizers. I'm just saying have very specific spots in your fridge of where you like to put your produce and different things. And also know how to organize it so that you are putting the things that spoil faster towards the front, and then the things that last much longer towards the back. You should absolutely be doing this before every single grocery trip that you do, because chances are you don't actually know what you have. And by going and looking in your fridge, you're making a mental note right then of, oh, I have a full bag of carrots, I don't need to buy a new one right now. Oh, I'm on my last egg, I should buy more of that. And then this leads into the next one of making an actual grocery list and making sure that you stick to it. For us, we buy the same things pretty much every single time. Like, we eat seasonally. Within that season, our grocery trip from 2 weeks to 2 weeks is almost essentially the same. Like, we know what meals we like to have. It prevents a lot of food waste because we just kind of keep cycling through the same things. And we don't like getting a whole bunch of weird ingredients, because we did that in the beginning when we were first exploring cooking, and then we quickly realized we don't use those things again, and we will not find a way to use them. So it's just a huge waste of food and money. But for us now, we just know what we like, and we keep buying those things over and over again. So now we're moving on to the section at the store. These are just little tips and tricks to use so that you can save money in the long run. First is to compare the actual unit price instead of just the sticker price, because they know that we automatically assume that the bigger the bag, the bigger the discount, which is actually not always true. They will sometimes make it just the same or even more expensive per unit price. So like, you have to look at how many ounces or pounds or whatever, and then see what the price is for that amount. Because sometimes not only is it not actually saving you any money, and it might actually be a little bit more expensive, but bigger doesn't always mean saving. And the fact that if you're not going to use that bigger bag and it's going to spoil before you can get through it, that is not saving you money at all. Next is eat seasonally. I am such a big advocate for this. Not only does it taste better, it has more nutrition in it, it's better for the environment, it also saves money. I got slapped in the face with this when I moved to New Zealand. Like, in America, you kind of maybe have a general gist of seasonal things with foods, but when I moved to New Zealand, it is crazy, because I went to buy tomatoes, for example, and they were like $50 per kilo or whatever, because it was winter time and tomatoes don't grow in the winter. And to be that far out on an island and they have to ship it in or like use extensive resources to be growing these tomatoes in the wrong season is astronomical. And guess what? You adjust to it. You learn how to enjoy tomatoes in the right season instead of in the wrong ones. And you start embracing the foods that are growing in season. Because if you think about it, when the fields are overflowing with whatever is in season right now, that is what is super cheap. The more locally grown, the more in season it is, the better the flavor. It is just so crazy that we've gotten so used to such bland food that has been shipped across the world, and we eat it in the wrong season and we don't even think twice about it. Another fun one is to know when to buy store brand. So this is an interesting one, and I think it varies per store, per person, but there are some things that in particular I like the store brand better than I like the name brand. And this one's just going to take some trial and error for you to figure out which flavor or whatever you like more. Because some things I would argue are definitely worth getting the name brand. The flavor's way better, the ingredients are way better, whatever it is. But sometimes you can actually be saving money and getting the tastier product in the end. Next is avoiding the convenience items, which is a little frustrating, I know, but buying the bagged salad kits is going to be so much more than just buying the salad ingredients. You can make so much more salad with the salad ingredients as well. And there's some leeway with this, of course. Like if you're not going to eat any salad at all and the bagged salad is what allows you to do that and it's worth that cost to you, then that's great, do it. I'm just saying that these convenience items add up very quickly. I am in the position right now that it is worth buying the cheaper things and just doing it myself. And along with the convenience items, it's also important to talk about the ultra processed things. And this one can be kind of a harder discussion, but I don't personally buy a lot. It's such a tricky thing with kids because you can't say no to everything, because then I feel like it does give them a weird relationship with food, and we don't want that. So what we are doing right now is basically every grocery trip we'll buy one treat, and it can be an ultra processed thing. It can also be the Greek yogurt with vanilla flavor, you know, like it's whatever they pick out. I'm not going to entirely say no to Oreos or gummy bears or whatever, because again, I just feel like that kind of breeds disordered eating. But it is also important to realize that they're expensive. We'll go ask Daddy for a yummy snack. It is so expensive to be buying all of the junk food all of the time. And for us, it's not a part of our everyday diet. Like I said, it's a treat. They get it every so often, but it's not something that I am like giving to them every single day. And people think it's crazy that I can save so much money on kids snacks, but I just don't buy them. And then if they're not in the house, they're not a fight and they're not an argument. Because the truth is that if you have those items in the pantry, they will always choose those over the apples or the oranges or the bananas, you know? So not only is it healthier, it is just so much cheaper.
What is that thing for me?
Another fun thing that you can do to save money is to buy in bulk, but it's also, again, so important to realize what you eat in bulk. For us, we get a giant bag of basmati or jasmine rice because we eat through it like crazy. But buying the $5 bag of like gigantic bag of onions probably isn't going to be worth it for us because they're going to rot by the time we get through them all. And fun note discussion about Costco is that people have this weird mentality with Costco. They really have given themselves the image of it's saving you money. So you are paying a membership to go to their store to spend hundreds of dollars and you walk out thinking that you've saved money. And you can. There are some people that do it properly. Thing is that they really get you with the snacks. And as I was just talking about just a minute ago, snacks are not actually a necessary part of your diet at all. We eat a lot of snacks in our home, but they're whole foods or they're things like cashews or almonds or dried mango or dates or whatever. Like usually it's not granola bars or gummy snacks or ultra processed yummy things that are just very high energy. Another thing to note is that we make a lot of our own snacks. I'm constantly making some form of like chocolate chip muffins, or I'll make our own granola bars or granola or whatever. Like I'm constantly making snacks, and that just saves so much money. Tastes better, healthier, all the things. I've mentioned a few ways to avoid food waste, but I have another few things. Knowing which foods to eat in week 1 and week 2. So again, for us, we show up every 2 weeks. And so for us, it's very critical to know what things are going to spoil within the first week versus the second. So again, when we go grocery shopping and we get this big haul of food, we bring it in and we organize it in our fridge so that everything that needs to be eaten in week 1 is up at the front. And then naturally, as you eat through that, it uncovers everything that needs to be eaten later. For example, in the fruits category, if we're buying things like blueberries or strawberries, if we have fresh spinach or kale or whatever, things like bananas or cucumbers, like those are going to be eaten within the first week. The second week, we're going to be moving on to like the apples and the oranges. I freeze our bananas at that point, so then they get baked into like banana pancakes or muffins or different things like that. Smoothies to help extend fruit even longer. By the end, we have things like carrots and celery left, and those are the veggies that we're snacking on, and that's perfectly fine with us. Another thing is to know how to store things properly. Like there are some things that are really obvious, like we don't store bananas in the fridge because it makes them go weird a lot faster. Putting potatoes in the dark in a dry place keeps them fresher fresher for a lot longer. Like tomatoes are actually better stored on the counter instead of in the fridge. And there's a lot of things, like if you get fresh cut herbs, you can put them like in a glass jar with water in the bottom and they will stay better for a much longer time. Cooking from home still saves so much money. I've had some arguments in the past about how it doesn't and how it actually is more cost efficient to go and buy a meal out or to buy the frozen pizzas or whatever. I don't agree for several reasons, but at least for my experience here in Canada, where I can go to Canadian Superstore, cooking from home just saves so much money, like hands down. Not only immediately so, because eating out is just so expensive, but on top of that, long-term investment in your health and medical bills is going to save you thousands upon thousands of dollars. Another way that I like to avoid food waste is by cooking in batches and embracing leftovers. I do not understand when people don't like leftovers. They are incredible. They prevent food waste and it prevents you from having to cook for another night of the week. So when we cook, we usually make a big pot of something and then we will eat it for 2, sometimes 3 days. And then we usually don't have like a super rigid set meal plan. What we do is we look in the fridge and say, oh, this needs to be eaten because it's going to go bad within the next few days. And then we will build the meal around that. And then being flexible like that, being aware of what is in your fridge is just going to prevent so much food waste. Another thing that I don't think gets talked about enough is having your cheap convenience meals. Because as I was saying, we make most of our food from scratch. We do have a few things in our kitchen that we can make within 5 minutes that our whole family will eat. And is it the most nutritious meal? Absolutely not. Some of our go-tos are cheese and refried bean quesadillas. And another thing is pita pizzas. So like we'll have pitas that are in the freezer. You can just take those out, put some sauce on it, sprinkle some cheese on it, and like that can be a meal sometimes if you need it. Not every dinner has to be this giant production, and sometimes you don't have the energy, sometimes you don't have the time, and you just need to be able to whip something up really quickly. And if it's between something like that versus getting takeout food, I'm going to always opt for just the quickie meal at home. Another fun idea that's kind of the opposite, but I would actually argue that buying some luxury items sometimes gets you so much more excited to cook. It gets you so much more excited to be eating your food at home. It makes it taste so much better. I think it actually saves money in the long run. Like for us, for example, we always buy feta, which is not the cheapest ingredient out there, but we eat it with our eggs and that just gets us so excited to be eating feta fried eggs. I don't know. But for us to be making that level of fried eggs that I get so excited about and that honestly I would rather eat from my own kitchen than like go out to a brunch place, it's so good and I would rather eat it at home and it's still cheaper than going out to get it. Last fun idea is to do a pantry clean out, because chances are you have things that are pushed into the back of your pantry that you haven't thought about in months. I'm talking about myself here. I'm actually going through this process right now because we're going to be moving soon, but it's just really fun to get creative. Like look at what you have pushed back there that isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but get creative with, oh, I can make a meal around that random thing. So then you can use it up. It's saving you money and it's preventing food waste. So that is my massive list of grocery hacks and just ways to prevent food waste and to just have more fun in the kitchen, because that is another factor in all of this, that food is to be enjoyed. Like food is not just supposed to be fuel that you can cram down your throat, but there is so much joy that can be found in learning how to cook and cooking well and cooking for people and enjoying food together. So let me know if I missed any hacks that you can share with everybody else, but that's all I have. Thank you so much for being here and I will see you guys next week. Bye.